Hey there, everybody, and welcome to Bold Badass Business Owners, where we bring you the boldest and the baddest out there to share with you their secrets. And we want to let you in also on some of the foibles that we've had in business, some of our mistakes, some of the things that have worked great. We want to be real with you. This is the no bullshit show. So I am thrilled today to have Jenn Mayers Vaidya, who you will want to know is an outrageously incredible email conversion expert who has created over $14.1 million of business for her clients in the last 7 years. Should I repeat that? $14.1 million of business for her clients created through email copy that actually works. So Jenn, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Dr. Barnsley. I'm so grateful to be here.
I'm thankful you're here too. And actually, as we started, guess what? The light just started soaring in.
Look at that.
So I look a little light right now.
The energies are with us. Yeah.
The energies are with us because it was kind of dark here and over cloudy. And now this light is just like, woo, hello. Well, I'm thrilled that you're here. And we're going to talk about why most copywriters can't deliver words that bring you clients and what you can do about it. Because in business, email is still really hugely used. It's one of the best ways to keep in touch with our clients. So just for a second, how about telling us why you really love email and writing emails versus, say, blogs, or Facebook posts, etc. Why are emails better, really?
I love this question because it actually all started when I first got into my own business. Because what ended up happening was I had this teeny tiny list, and I really needed to get clients, especially when you're first starting out, or even sometimes when you've been in it for years, you're like, okay, I need to communicate somehow because the business is not a business without sales. And so I had this small list, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to lean all the way on this email list. I'm going to just shower them with valuable content, with great offers, with my personality. And what ended up happening that year, and by the way, I also made a clear distinction for myself because I know me, I know I can't really have my hands in two things and go all in for both ways. So I was like, okay, I can do some social media here and there, but I was like, I'm going to go all in on my email list. Even though it's the thing I'm really, really learning, and I can't compete with the cat videos on Facebook. So I went for email, and I just committed to writing great emails. And I ended up turning 98 people email list into $100,000 in sales my first year in business.
Whoa, wait, hold up. Repeat that, would you?
Yes.
Y'all listen up.
That's
Turn
right.
up your hearing aids, people.
Yes. Yeah. I mean,
you turned a 98-person email list into over $100,000 of business in your first year.
And it sounds really magical, but 2 of those people were my parents. So really just 96 people. And it took a lot of work and effort and commitment to communicate with those people, to learning how to speak with them. A lot of times our readers, they're really good at speaking German, but we speak French. And we're over here speaking French, and they can't understand us because they only speak German. So it's important. I had to learn a little bit of German in order for them to also learn a little bit of French. And that first year, I went all in on learning how to do that. And of course, that's called copywriting, learning the language of our clients.
Yes.
And applying that through emails. And when you have an incredible offer that transforms people's lives, which I would imagine people in your audience, it's highly likely that that's what they're creating and that's what they've got. And once we create it, how do we communicate that with our clients? So that's what copywriting really, really is. And then, of course, my favorite place to be is in email, because like I said, it doesn't matter how big your email list is. I'm proof positive that you can have a small list and still kind of blow your goals out the water as long as you're learning how to communicate with them and how to invite them to your offers. And yeah.
That's incredible. Now, I wanna ask you a few things about that. So I love that you said your parents, we won't count them. It was
Yeah,
96 people and also, just in case, that was a metaphor, right, about the German and the French, yeah, just
of
to be
course.
clear with people, though it is kind of fun to put other languages in every now and again, especially when you're traveling somewhere. I had some fun writing some French while I was traveling around this summer, just a little bit that people would know, like, "Bonjour, ça va?" or whatever.
Mm,
But, I wonder, when you were building that relationship with them over that first year, could you tell us more about how frequently you were emailing and
yeah.
what percentage of it was, say, sharing, your personality, your life, and what percentage, just approximately was, say, an offer?
Yeah, great question, because that first year I made a lot of mistakes.
Mhm,
I tried everything. So I was studying people. I was studying spiritual marketers. If anybody is like really into personal development or spirituality, I was studying those marketers that I
mhm,
admired in that realm. I was studying bro marketers, the people who were like, "You'll get a Ferrari and buy a mansion." I was studying those people. I was studying, millennial marketers, and I don't even know if Gen Z was old enough at that point, but like I was studying the young hip kids and what are they doing, and I was really just like applying what I was learning to find out what worked for me, what stuck with my audience, and I found out that it's we're told a lot that we should send 80% of valuable content, 20% offers, and what I have
mhm,
found is like yes, and it's more of a yes and, because when your content is valuable, you can invite people to what you're offering. So
mm,
I found that as I was learning this system of writing emails that really, no matter what my call to action was, people were taking away something they were going, wow, I'm feeling smarter. Wow, I can go think differently about my business or about myself or about my
mhm,
audience or about my copy. Then all of a sudden, um, people were like, what you got? I want it. It didn't really matter how often I was inviting people to things. And so that first year, I did try to do the 80-20, but I think it ended up being more like almost the opposite. I did a lot more of inviting because I was new. I was like, let's just get offers in the door. Let's just invite people. Um, and it worked out. It worked out really well for me. And I will say this. So when it came to making mistakes for the copy itself, not just the strategy in general, the copy itself was, um, I was really finding my voice that first year. How do I communicate as Jenn? Like it comes naturally most of the time when we're talking, especially when we're talking with people we feel safe with, we are comfortable with. But when it comes to writing to an audience that now we're supposed to be perceived as a leader, we're supposed to be perceived as this expert or authority, and we're like, oh, now what do I say? And then we can kind of oscillate between I sound like this, thumb up the booty, the authority that like knows better than everyone, or I oscillate to the other side where I'm like, oh, if you want help, I'm here. And then you're not making a confident call to action. So as I was learning
mhm,
my voice, how do I really want to come across? How do I come assertive, yet also compassionate? How do I be confident while also being playful? How do I bring in that mixture of who I am? And what I learned was pretty quickly was that I was leaning so far to the side of personality that I was leaving out my clients. I ended up kind of pushing people away because they were like, in fact, I used to get this repetitive email from someone on my list who shall not be named, but I adore her dearly. And she would say, Jenn, your emails are really fun, but
mm,
I really struggle to figure out what you're trying to tell me about my business. And I was like,
mm,
oh, okay. So for me, it's all information. Whatever feedback I get, it's not bad or good. It's just information. So I would go back to the drawing board again and again and again and again. how many iterations of me trying to figure out what's the right combination of personality with purposeful content. And what I found out was really that personality piece, which is the part that feels so important to us as the creators, as the people who are making the invitation, that feels so important. But when it comes to crafting a message, when it comes to writing your copy, that actually should be added in last. What needs to come first are, like, what are those nitty-gritty details that needed to be included? Get those down on paper. Make sure that you're thinking about your audience first, your one dream buyer first, and then through a series of editing phases, you're editing in the conversion. Like, you have the right ideas first and the right people, then you bring in the conversion, then you bring in your personality before you run it through its final, like, send ready checks to email it out. And that's what ended up, thankfully, from that first year, I was able to kind of refine a process that made me love email even more. And I'm like, wow, there's just like a process for being yourself and confidently inviting people to work with you. And I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, it does, because I've actually been putting some things up into the comments, this gem of when your content is valuable, you can then invite them to offers. And so we really can get away from thinking so much about ratios and just think about what is the valuable content that's going to impact our viewer or our listener or our reader in that case. Who is your one dream person, and write for that person. And so once we're providing that valuable content, then invitations are going to be welcome, right? Because it's something you want to read. It's not an onerous task to open up an email from one of us. So I love that. And I think that's interesting, the whole point about personality, that our personality can actually push people away, because we can be such a big personality or such a personality that the listener may not feel included.
Correct.
And I think that's really powerful, that we want to be inviting, because that's a way to include our audience. So I'm going to invite you all watching now or later to put a comment, put something up there. What is this making you think about with your emails? And especially this fact that Jenn built this amazing first year with just 96 people plus her 2 parents on that list, on that email list. Were you sending out to them every day, Jenn? Were you how frequently would you say you were sending something out in that first year?
Yeah, I was playing with the frequency. So there was a period where I was emailing them every day, because I was following a marketer who felt really strongly that you have to email every day. And you want to know something? I just learned that doesn't work for me. However, what also doesn't work for me is emailing once a month. That didn't work for me, because then I felt disconnected from them. Then I'm going, do they even want to hear from me? Well, that's not on them. That's on me for not staying connected with them. So I was playing with a lot of frequency, and ultimately I found minimum once a week. But when it comes time to inviting people to things and building up to that invitation, I actually like to be in touch with them more than once a week, because I like to feel the energy together. I like for us to share that community. I like to get their feedback. Like, when I get an email back from a subscriber sharing anything about whatever I said, whether it's bad or good, feedback is information. I love it. I get so joyful. There's one person that she replies to almost every email I send. And I reply to her every time, like, you have no idea how much your replies mean to me. Thank you. Keep them coming. Like, it just means I'm not sending off to an inbox. I'm sending off to a person, and that person is reading it and going, an email provider didn't email me, a person emailed me. And it's so lovely. And I think when we think about emails that way, all of a sudden it becomes more than just a means to an end. It's not, I'm just here to get cash, but I'm really here to create a community. I'm really here to get clients that I feel, I'm aligned with, I feel connected with. And in some small way, you do create a community, even though you're talking to one at a time. But when they come together in courses and they start talking about some of the emails that you've sent out, or the topics or the concepts that you discussed, and they're like, oh, I remember that too, or I heard that too. it immediately creates a connection with everyone in the room, virtual room included. And it's just a really lovely thing.
I love that. And what would you say is the average open rate for an email sent out by a copywriter such as yourself versus a business owner?
Okay, gotcha. This is a great question because the answer is not so black and white. There are
Mm,
so many variables with open rates, and I'm going to name a few. One is, what email are you sending? So
mm,
a regular everyday, what someone might call an email blast, just a
mhm.
regular email, is going to have a lower open rate than, say, a webinar confirmation email, or the first email they ever get from you that's delivering the thing they just requested.
Right.
Those are going to have much higher open rates, which is why most people kind of want to get in and get out and deliver the thing that someone just requested, or like, oh, thanks for joining the webinar. Bye. I'll send you the details, or here are the details, and they want to get out. But actually knowing that those emails are going to be anywhere between 50 to 70% open rates. I've even seen upwards of 85% open rates for those
Wow.
emails. That's where you really want to create that connection, because you know that you're going to get more attention on those. For regular blasts, I mean, that also varies because it depends on your list size, your list engagement. How often are you engaging them, and what kind of content are you already sending them? Do they already know that they want to open your emails? Do they already feel like, they're waiting for the next email from Dr. Barnsley, or are we trying to build it up, right? So, but ideally, everyone wants a number, but if it's 100-person email list, it's going to be a different percentage than 100,000 people email list.
Exactly.
I once had a client who had 100,000 people on their email list, and on an amazing day, we would get a 10% open rate. But if I told my clients who have 300 people email lists, they'd be like, "Oh my God, only 10%.
So
We're only
low.
going to get 3 people to open." But of course, that's not the case. So with a 300, it's highly likely that you have a stronger relationship with the individuals instead of the collective. And so you're going to have higher open rates. It's highly likely that you met them at live events or networking parties or wherever, or they're colleagues of yours. So they're more likely to open. So the
Right.
question is never a quick answer.
Right. So it's not just Joe Schmo and Joelle Schmo and everybody else on your list. It's people who've actually seen you present, or they've met you at a networking event. And obviously they're going to be more engaged just because there's been that personal touch point
Correct.
in some way, shape, or form. So I hope everybody's listening to this, because I hear people saying, I've got to build my list. I've got to build my list. I've got to build my list.
Yeah.
But what Jenn has told us, that she created over $100,000 of income in her first year with a list of 98 people, 96 people plus their 2 parents, that proves that it's really about the engagement and the relationship with the people on that list. And if you've got a really good, strong relationship with them, then you're going to get way better open rates. More people are going to open, more people are going to buy eventually, hopefully, we hope.
Right.
That's so interesting, because there's this fine line of how much access do we give people to us?
Right.
Do we are we approachable? How much access do we give people? How much do we really give away
Yeah.
strategically, so they have a taste and want more?
Correct.
And I think email can be a great way to leverage your giving away, your sharing something, in a way that you couldn't even probably do with speaking, unless you're speaking to huge audiences all the time.
For sure.
Yeah.
Speaking, social media, even there, it's that's more of the cocktail party where everyone's hanging out, and you're going to talk about the specific topics that are allowed at the cocktail party. I don't even drink. I said cocktail party because it feels like everything's kind of like a clink clink. You go, girl.
Yeah.
I do have a kitty cat in the background, so if you hear any background noise,
I don't care.
she's exploring the
Maybe he'll
territory.
come on camera.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
But there was another part to the question you asked about the subject line open rates, and that was the difference between a copywriter and if so the business owner itself
Mhm.
themselves wrote the subject line. And I wanted to address that because this kind of plays into our title here. And that is, so often one of our deepest, secretest, harboring desires is that someone else will write our copy for us. And we want to, we just want to hand it off to someone else because insert any story you've got. I don't have time. I don't want to write it. I hate writing. I'm not good at writing. I'm good at writing, but not this kind of writing. I've been through courses and I've tried it before. Like whatever, all the stories, we've got them. We've cycled through them. But the deal is a copywriter cannot be you if you have not ironed out how you sound.
And AI cannot be you. Let
Yes,
me just say, we had a great episode last week with Alina Vincent,
yes.
and I, of course, met you through Alina and that wonderful challenge launch intensive I did with you all. And, you know, that AI is not going to replace us.
It's not a magic pill for sure.
It's not a magic pill, even though there are ways we can train it up maybe. And, it's not gonna have that human element,
No.
We'd really have to do a lot of training of it to have it work well, I think, in an email newsletter, but it might be,
Yes.
it could be good for brainstorming topics perhaps, but it's not gonna know our stories. It's
Correct.
not gonna know that stuff that comes out when you pull back the red curtain, right? And here is the life of Jenn, or the life
And
of Barnsley.
I've
I
trained
call it
my
Barnsley
AI.
Landia.
That's right. I've trained my AI. It took a couple of days, and I was committed. I was like, I'm going to try and get this to sound as much like me as possible, and understand my specific client for a specific product as possible. The more honed in you can get on exactly what you want it to talk about, it can yield really nice drafts, or at least ideas. I use AI a lot when I just need give me 10 more ways to say this. When I just my brain, I'm not going to spend the energy coming up with 10 ideas, but I'm happy to pick the one that I can work off of. It's highly unlikely that it gives me one that I'm like, that's it, I'm using it and I'm not editing it, but at least it gives me something to get started with, and I really like that. But I took one product, one specific type of client for that product, and then gave it my key personality and voice traits. It's really a hit or miss. Some things I'll ask it to write and it's like, wow, that's impressive. And other things it's like, where did you get that? And I'm like, and then all of a sudden I'm arguing with AI. I'm like, no, that's not what I want, but
redo it.
It's such a nice assistant, really.
Yeah. And are you using ChatGPT, or what are your favorite AIs that you might use if you get stuck and you want to generate more ideas while you're writing, for instance?
Yeah, ChatGPT. That's
okay.
Stick with one, learn one, go all in. It's kind of my thing, right? Stick with email, go with email, ChatGPT.
Yeah. Yes, because otherwise, it does take time to learn them, and why. I think ChatGPT is the one that everyone seems to rave about. So that's great. I love what you're saying, that it could be good to, when you are getting to a point and you're thinking, what would be another way to say this, or what would be another idea I would want to bring in here? That's where you're going to drive AI. AI isn't creating the ideas, really. You're guiding.
Yeah.
AI is your assistant, and you are not its assistant, so to speak. Well, I love that. And so what I'm hearing is that the frequency of how often you email out, the amount of invitations you do, offers you do, all of this is really going to vary depending on how well you've groomed your list, right? How well you've connected and built a relationship with them. But what about those of us, might this be true of me, who have not communicated very frequently with our email lists recently? We've we have the list, but we haven't done too much with it recently. How can we get back in the good graces of our audience, or maybe people on here have never really used email marketing and want to start. How can they get the attention again of people on their list?
I love this question. And the answer might be surprising. The first step is to know what you want to offer them. Because if we want to be of value to our email list, we have to have something to invite them to. So often, especially when we're first starting out, or if we've taken a long sabbatical from writing our list, we can feel nervous or intimidated or a little worried that if I invite them to something, they, I'll annoy them, or they'll think I'm salesy or I'm pushy. But the honest to goodness truth is they've signed up for your email list. They said, I really like what you have to say, or at least enough to join your list, and I want to hear more. So you have to know how, there will always be people who want to go deeper with you. Second is, once you have an idea of what it is you're going to offer them, whether that's an online course, a group coaching program, a webinar, a live event, a product, anything, whatever it is, you want to build back from that. So obviously you're not going to jump right into an invitation, which is actually why we end up feeling salesy, because we're like, I know I should, and I want to start talking to them, but how do I get to that offer bit? And that's the bridge, right? Like, what is that bridge? And really you want to send content that is related to that topic, but is not a direct invitation yet. So you have to build up that rapport. So you're just going to start talking about the various aspects of whatever it is that invitation is about. Like, for instance, if you had a product about sleeping better, 8 hours a night, every night, falling asleep, staying asleep all night, you might send out some emails over the course of a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, however long you choose, that relate around sleeping, mistakes people make, statistics, and tell client case studies and stories that validate those statistics. You might have what's called thought reversals. I've learned that from Brandon Lucero, where he says, the old way of thinking is what's causing them suffering. So if you can show empathy on that old way of thinking and then offer them a new way of thinking, you can immediately remove their suffering. And in that way, they will walk away feeling smarter and lighter, and you've made an impact. You've added value to their life, and you will stick in their mind, so that when it comes time to invite them to something, they'll go, this guy or this lady, she knows what she's talking about. So there's a lot of different ways that you can bring back that conversation, but you want to make sure you know what to talk about. That's the whole thing. Most people say, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to talk about. And that's because they're starting at the beginning first and trying to get to the end, but you actually want to start with the end in mind and then work your way backwards.
I like that. And what about thinking of it too as a teaser? Because one thing I really, really want to do is send out excerpts from these incredible interviews that I've got on the Bold Badass Business Owners Show. I mean, they are so amazing. The guests have just provided so much value and thought-provoking, non-traditional wisdom, right? Which I really love. We need, as you say, we need new ways to do things. We've got to always be, what worked 5 years or even 5 months ago doesn't work these days. So I want to send these out to my list. And so one thing I was thinking about is just really having this series in which I talk about my excitement about this, and I invite them, go to the channel, check it out. And then maybe working up to a contest, right? Whoever invites the most people who subscribe is going to get something. But I want it to be playful, and I want it to be fun, and I want it to be like a teaser where they're like, oh, what's going to happen now? I want to open this up. What's happened now?
Nice.
Kind of like Charles Dickens, how he used to write his stuff in little bits, and he was smart. That's how he made a living, even though it was, not the best living. That's how he made a living from his writing, was just releasing bits and getting people, like a soap opera, kind of getting them involved. And then they want to tune in and say, well, what happened now?
That's right.
So that's what I'm thinking of there. But, I want to just keep the relationship going, because truthfully, the one thing I would love is, Jenn, I would love to bring more people into my Make It Happen Mastermind, more big-hearted women business owners. I've just had a couple of people who graduated, kind of moved on, and I'd like to bring some really amazing women in there. But I'm also really selective about who I let in because it's such a small group, and it really makes a difference. If you get one bad apple, so to speak, it's like, whoa. So that's thinking about that, giving you that scenario just as an example that you could play with. What would you coach me on? And you all watching, you can certainly put a comment up here about a scenario you have and questions you have, which Jenn could answer. But this way you can see how Jenn approaches things, because really your brain is awesome. I saw that in the challenge intensive. I'm like, that is so fascinating how she did that. She just designed my landing page in it's 2 minutes. She's got the main points there. It was just really interesting to watch you work on a piece of copy. So, and on a strategy. So what would you say if I told you that's what I want to do, is really just up the YouTube subscriptions and then invite some incredible people who are really serious about having a 6-figure or multiple 6-figure business to the complimentary Get Results Now session, which is where I'll offer them the mastermind if they're a good fit.
Right.
Yeah.
So, disclaimer, I know nothing about growing a YouTube channel, so I don't know how to help you there. But once you have, I'm going to call it subscribers. I understand there'd be followers, I guess, on YouTube. You would want to, have ways to bring them onto your email list. Because you can't control what they look at on YouTube. There are way too many things to click at. So you want to bring them to your email list where the only thing to look at is exactly what Barnsley wants you to look at.
Aha.
So, yes. So, with you have your podcast on there right now. And I do believe, because I've watched some of your other videos, it's just you. On those, if you were inviting people to download a free resource or a replay or anything that they had to opt in for, that would allow you to bring them onto your email list so that you're using YouTube strategically. Once they're on your email list, of course, you're going to have however way that you warm them up just to your world, right? Like a welcome sequence. But when it comes to the strategy of inviting people to a mastermind, so I want you to think of, there are different types of offers, right? So we have a low cost offer that's anywhere between $7 and $197, right? Like that is almost anyone can go, all right, I want it, I'm getting it right now, right? The way you're going to promote that is significantly different than the way you're going to promote a mastermind, which is much bigger. Yes. It's a much bigger promise. The promise of a $7 product is, it's going to be like, oh, you'll get this now, right here, right now. But a mastermind, you're saying yes to oftentimes not just a very big vision, a very big promise, but also a much bigger timeline and involvement and investment. So think about that when you consider your strategy. It's going to take more time to build the rapport for someone to consider a mastermind. So like if I were selling a quick product, you could do a 24-hour flash sale. You could do a three-day flash sale. It almost feels like 7 days is way too many days to sell a low ticket product unless you're running ads and it's just like going out to other people. But when it comes to a mastermind, you want to have a long runway of building a rapport with them where you're sending this, what we're always told called valuable content. I call it goodwill. I am giving you something that literally is either changing the way you think about you, your business, your approach to the thing I cover, or it's changing the way that you do something. So either think, be, or do. That's going to be that valuable content. And you'll find out what that content is when you understand the common stories that your clients tell yourselves, when you find out the common challenges or hangups that they have, right? That's how you know what to address. By addressing those and along the way, P.S., the doors are opening to the mastermind next month, mark your calendar. Like, you want it to be excited. If you want them to be excited, you got to be excited. And so along the way, while you're building up this long runway of rapport, you are also reminding them of what's to come, right? The thing that makes something feel pushy and salesy is if we hear nothing or we're getting no offers and all of a sudden buy now, and it's incredibly urgent and it feels so harsh, and we're like, what? Where did that come from? That came out of left field. But if I email you, a month out saying, mark your calendars, the most exciting thing is happening this year, you're going to be like, I can't wait to hear what she has to say. This is so cool. I want to celebrate. So then you're going to have what's called your event trigger, whatever triggers the enrollment of your mastermind. Now, it sounds like you're going to have enrollment calls. You're inviting people to enrollment calls.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit more about, are people going to be clicking over to a sales page about the mastermind and booking an enrollment call? Are people going to a sales page about the enrollment call?
Actually, usually what happens is I invite them to the enrollment call, and it's right on the front page of my website on the top fold. If you're really serious about having a 6-figure or more business fast with fun, apply here for a Get Results Now session. So usually I'm meeting people, or they're hearing me speak, that kind of thing, Jen, and then I'm inviting them. And it's a pretty personal invitation, right? Because it would be someone who, say, heard me talk quickly in a 30-second intro and was like, oh my God, I have to talk to you. Then I would invite them there. But in the case of the emails, I really like what you're saying about having a long runway of rapport. I put that up there as another gem. You will need a long runway of rapport for a larger ticket offer to basically build the anticipation, but also just to connect and really to weed out the people who aren't right, as well as attract the people who are.
Well, and also help the people who are right, but may not necessarily see it in themselves yet.
Right.
Turn the tides, because so often the big reason we don't have as many sales as we want is not because so many people said no. It's because so many people didn't make a decision. So if we can help people that's right. I don't care how many no's I have on my list. I just want them to know that they're a no. Because the more no's I get, the more yeses I get. Yes, that's correct. So, I thought of something as you were saying what you heard. The long runway of rapport is for a mastermind specifically, is also going to be followed by a long enrollment runway.
Yes.
You have the ability, you can literally invite people, because a session is most likely free. Is it free?
Yes, it is.
And you can spend a whole month inviting people to those sessions.
Yeah. And it's a $497 value. And here's the thing, Jen, that I love is that, when they've applied, then I've got all this great info about what's going on with them. And it really, whether or not they engage, that session that we have, that Get Results Now session, is going to be huge for them, whether or not they enroll. It's going to be a life changer for them. So yeah, I consider it, actually, I was talking about this on the show recently, that I really see it as a sacred opportunity, that having those enrollment conversations is a sacred opportunity, because we go deep and we're looking at what this person is really worried about and struggling with and doesn't believe they can do. Right. And where they're stuck and where they're frustrated. And maybe they're even, in my group, maybe they're deciding that they want to give up on their business. Oh gosh, Jen, I had somebody that I saw in an event this week, and I forgot that we were in another program together. And she said, you're not giving up on your dream, are you? And I said, no, I'm living my dream. I have been for 23 years. Yeah. And, my best years have been the last 3 years, in fact. And I try to be nice with her, but I said, you're not giving up, are you? Are you feeling discouraged? Are you thinking about going back to a job? Maybe we should have this session. And so she went and actually pulled up the forum. she hasn't done it yet. She hasn't filled it out yet. She had some deadlines and whatnot, but people will procrastinate forever. It
Mm.
was so sad to me to hear that, that question was just like this, oh, are, are you, are you giving up on your dream? I'm like, no. There
Yeah.
are a number of people who are there, and those are the people I love to work with. It's like, no, you're not giving up on your dream. You're not giving up this law practice you started. You're not giving up
Mm.
your accounting firm and going to work for somebody else. Hell no, not as long as I'm there. I'm going to do everything I can to
Yeah.
work with you and have you do the revenue generating activities daily, to have the accountability, the training, the community, and the coaching, individual and group coaching. And it's just exciting. I love what I do. And I think just doing videos and sending those out to my email list will be really cool, because I like to talk with people
Mm.
like they're there and just saying, here's what happened this week and it made me really sad. And
Mm.
here's why, because I know that doesn't have to be that way for her.
Mm.
And bringing my heart there, because I think sometimes people, Jen, well, let's just talk, let's be real, like you talk about your personality. Sometimes people think I'm really a hard ass. And I am tough in the sense that I'm a can do it person. Okay, well, let's not talk about why you can't do it. Let's think about ways you could. But it all comes from a deep love
Of course.
and of people and really wanting women to get ahead, because for so long we have struggled. And now when you have your own business, it's really our glass ceilings that we're busting, aren't we?
Yeah.
Our own glass ceilings.
Stories that we've continued to hold on to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And there are all sorts of stories, you all. I want you to think for a second. Let's go there for a second, Jen, because I know one of the things I love about you is that you're so spiritual. You're deeply spiritual. And and I got chills as I said that. I got those wonderful life force chills, or some people would call them Holy Spirit chills, whatever you want to call them. I just got those as I said that. So this feels very important to say this to you, that you really hear this. And the way that spiritual people approach things is different. It's just very different. It's like we approach with a whole heart and whole head approach, not
Mm-hmm.
just a head approach, right? And I did the head approach. I did that when I was in academia, and I was miserable,
Mm.
right? I was miserable there. That's why they had to get the hell out. But having a whole heart and whole head approach. And I think that's what I see when you work. I was mentioning when you work, and I got to see you work actually with a screen share. It was like you were really understanding, getting into the head of, but getting into the heart of the person who you were writing copy for. And I think that energy came through the copy.
Mm.
What do you think? Makes sense?
Well, it sounds like you got it. It sounds, yeah, that's right.
Like the energy just really, and you all, this is so different from other copywriters, and it's not that you, Jen, don't have templates and a way of doing things, because you certainly do. I can tell you all that Jen has incredible templates where you're able to go in and plug certain things in and put in some stories and so forth. And it just really gives you a way to make your emails flow and be very persuasive. So you have those things, but you also have the intuition and the heart to really try to figure out what that person wants and what they're trying to say.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Thank
that's
you for
very
that
different.
acknowledgement. Thank you so much. You know, it's before I knew what copywriting was, I was already doing it. But
Mm.
when someone said, "Oh, that's copywriting," and I was like, "What? What is, isn't that the Circle C? What is that? I don't know. I don't know what copywriting is." Um,
Right.
I was like, "Oh, people get paid to write words," and then it dawned on me, like, marketing, that's what it, anyway, it was a very big light bulb moment for me learning what copywriting was. But I gravitated toward it because it allowed, I felt, oh, sorry, I just touched my mic. I felt so connected to people through this process. It's one of the reasons why I say coaches, course creators, coaches and healers specifically, um, make the greatest marketers when they learn that about themselves, because
Mm.
we love connecting with people. We love understanding. We love empathy. We love compassion. It's what literally oozes out of us naturally. We can't even help
Mhm.
it sometimes. And just learning those few frameworks that allow us to translate what we're feeling, what we're sensing, what we're hearing, what we're seeing into words. I mean, it just makes it feels like it brings a new life to your business, because you're like, finally, I can turn my gifts, not just the gifts that I've put into my courses, but my natural, some people might have psychic gifts. Some people might have sensory gifts. Some people might have all sorts of gifts. And how do we bring that? How do we say, like, I get you, I feel you, I see you, I'm already seeing you through our words? Because I look forward to the day when we can just sit and meditate and someone goes, I want your course. But I haven't found that yet. We have to use words. We have to figure out how to communicate. So,
Well, I have kind of had those experiences actually. Now, I think if you thought about it, you probably have, but they came when somebody was like, "Oh my God, I just love your energy. I have to talk to you." And
yes,
then a dialogue opened up,
that's
but
right.
you're adept at doing that with language. I really appreciate that. I don't know if I told you this, Jen. I have just written my first children's book, and I am so excited about it. It's all about the fact that we all matter, that every voice matters, and it just it's like bringing back the writer of me, because I used to write poetry. I started writing poetry when I was 13. I wrote my first poem, folded it up and gave it to people at school. And I went through a very hard teenagehood, which I've talked about on here, on this show before. So some of you who follow it will, and writing was like saving me. It saved me. And just doing this children's book about children who've overcome trauma and overcoming and finding the power in the cross-cultural friendship. It's loosely autobiographical. It's just excited me so much. And yeah, even talking about it, I get tears in my eyes, and
What's
people
the
who
name
read
of
it
the
are
book
like,
you have?
yeah, they say, "Oh my God, your book made me cry." And I think that's when I say that your head and heart together as a copywriter, that's what you bring. And we're craving emotional connection right now, aren't we? Especially post-COVID. Maybe we're not still post-COVID. Maybe we're in it now because there's new strains, but we may be in it again. But, we're craving emotional connection. And to be able to put that into language and send that out so that people receive it, and there is a feeling of relationship, when you're sending out to a list, that's huge.
Yeah, I agree. There have been a few times in my business where I was feeling disconnected to my invitations and all sorts of things. And this was, you may recall that I just recently took a sacred pause from my business.
Yes.
That was for different reasons.
Yay
But
for
a couple of
you.
years back, I took a pause because I was not getting the feedback I did not know I needed from my list. And so I announced to the list that I was stepping away and moving in a different direction. And I was bombarded. I think, I mean, I still don't have a very large list compared to others. And back then it was about 1,000, 1,500. And I got about 50 emails right away saying,
Whoa.
"You're breaking my heart. Don't leave. I read your emails every day." And I replied to every single one. "Then you need to reply to me," because I just made sure that they knew, like, I need to know that you're here. I'm here. I need to know that you're here.
Right, like you're sending stuff out, and I feel that way here. I'm like, "Y'all, please comment, please say something. Let me know you're out there. What is this meaning to you? What is this show meaning to you? Please tell me." Because the guests are coming. Jen's giving her time. I'm giving my time. This is like a labor of love, because I know that the information we provide is really needed. And I know that because then when I go on Facebook, within a couple of days, there's over 200 views. So I know people are watching, but I've been saying, "Why aren't they commenting, Jen?" I love what you're saying, that you let them know, "Please respond to my emails. Please tell me, did this mean something to you?" Because I think sometimes people don't think, they just assume that we know that they're listening or we know that they're impacted.
Yeah, some people have said, "Well, I know you're busy. I don't want to bother you or anything like that." And I'm like, "Bother me. I'll let you
Please
know when you're
bother me.
bothering me. You go ahead and reply." Even I have a handful of, like, loyals that I know that their message always shows up at just the right time where I'm like, yeah, I thank you for that confirmation, or thank you for that affirmation, or gosh, you needed my message, but I needed your message. Like
Love
that to
that.
me is what the email list, it just, when it's good, it's good. And
Mm.
when we don't have a way to confidently send out emails to our list, we're always craving for that connection and those clients. We all, that's how we, that the craving isn't the bad thing, it's the symptom that I don't have a way of writing those emails that help me feel connected. It's all information, right? It's not bad or good. It's just, okay, the information I'm getting is that I'm craving connection. I need a way. Yes.
And email is a great way for that. And especially, I know you offer courses. I know you have things that they can participate in, like the Challenge Launch Intensive that I did with you and Alina and Steve, where people can engage with you and have you work over their copy. And of course, they can hire you to work with them as well. I mean, you all having something that goes out that people really want to open. Wow.
Yeah.
That in these days this day and age is huge, and not something that feels manipulative. I've recently unsubscribed from a number of them, as I'm sure a lot of you do periodically, that I got on. I don't even know how I got on the list. I'm sure I signed up for it because there was some kind of interesting lead magnet, but then it felt very manipulative. And I was like, nah, I don't want to be sold to every time I hear from this person. I really don't want to hear that. I want to know, who is this person? I want to know what they stand for. I want to know why they're in business. I want to know about their clients and the successes their clients have. We want to make our clients the hero of this, right? We
That's
want our
right.
clients to be the hero of our emails.
Yeah.
Or yeah.
Ogilvy, who is like the master marketer, Ogilvy said, good marketing makes you look smart. Great marketing makes them look smart.
Oh, I love that, man. Repeat that. Good marketing
makes you look smart. Great marketing makes them look smart.
Wow. Now that just takes us back to your powerful point earlier. And those of you who are on now, you need to go back and watch the whole thing. Don't miss the beginning, because you were talking about personality. It's like when we put ourselves as the hero, there's so
Exactly.
much there of us, and there's no space for them.
Yeah.
And
That's right.
what we really want to create, and I'm getting chills on that. So that's an important message for somebody like this to hear now or in the future, that, we want to make them the hero. And that can be also, like, I've been interviewing some of my former Reiki students and some of my mastermind clients, and I love to promote them and then put the interviews up, and then they can do whatever they want with it. And it just feels so good. Just like this show feels so good to me, because it's promoting people, I believe, bring something that is so different to business. It's like the no bullshit business, a real deal, like where we are real about who we are and real about the shit we've done that didn't work and the stuff that we've done that's good. But we're doing it in service, So that's really what this is about. And I really get that from you. Now, what can it's almost time to wrap it. I want to think of something really powerful to ask you. And it's not really coming through. It just feels like there's something that you want to tell us. I'm just going to leave it to you. Something that you want to tell
Sure.
people here. I really heard you, and I hope those of you watching heard Jenn about asking people for feedback. Like, I love to have your comments here. Ask for feedback. Ask for people when you send out an email to let you know, what did they hear? What was their aha, or what made them think, or what emotionally connected with them. So I
That's right.
love that. But what would you say to everybody as they're thinking about, well, I don't really have an email list. I have a few people. I don't know if I want to do this. What would you really say to them about that power that they have to
Yeah.
impact other people through email?
Yeah. Well, if you don't have an email list, get clear on how you most want to grow your business. What do you
Mm,
want it to look and feel like? Because the truth is, you have to have an avenue to communicate with your clients. Social media has a certain strategy. It oftentimes involves much more communication. You posting, if not multiple times a day, at least once a day, right? Like there is a whole world, a whole lifestyle around social media. That is not me. Some people find it hard to believe, but I'm an introvert. I love being in a cave basically 5 days of the week. So when obviously not a real cave, so a little home cave. So when it comes to emails, it allows me to keep my business simple. So you just have to get really clear, like, what is the lifestyle I'm wanting to create for my business? How do I want my business to work for me, not me work for my business?
I love that.
If email aligns with the lifestyle that you're wanting to create, start it right now. Find a way to start it right now. MailChimp has a free version. Get yourself a freebie, get yourself an opt-in page, and get yourself a welcome email. And remember that you're going to get the most opens on that very first email. So make sure you add in the connection, add in the conversion there, so that they can go, this person is for me. I'm going to stay on this list. I'm going to keep going. And then when it comes to actually inviting those people, or actually, sorry, you asked writing the emails. When it comes to actually writing the emails, it's something that we face every day. We have these big, beautiful business goals, and time again, we're like, I need those emails to get this rolling. I got to promote a webinar, or I've got to promote a challenge, or I've got to put this offer in front of people who are seeing it and not just like scrolling through cat videos, like whatever it is. But it's really challenging when you don't have a system to do that. It's really challenging when you feel like you're overcomplicating the process or overthinking your words, or some of us are a little too wordy with our words. Some of us are not wordy enough. Sometimes we're doubting our voice, or we're, going, should I share that story? Should I not share that story? What story do I share? Or we're not sure how to confidently call someone to action without it feeling pushy, right? Like all these things can actually keep us from doing the very thing that we genuinely feel aligned to. And if that's where you're at, then I would say, please come hang out with me. There is a proven way. The answer is not what you've been trying, which is probably other online courses that have like a random template set up, or a one-off 5-minute, like, let me show you emails real quick. And the answer is also not to figure it out on your own, because there's a lot of good stuff out there when it comes to like downloading freebies, but there's also a lot of not good stuff out there. And how do you know what's good and what's not good if you've not been trained by someone who has proven it with their own emails and with thousands of their clients' emails, which, that is me. So if you would love to know how to write emails, please come hang out with me. I just put together a brand new course called Exhale Email for those of us who get really overwhelmed with our emails. And it's all about making the process easy. It's just 4 steps. It's exactly what I said. You have to figure out how to get that first draft, which is the right ideas. Then you want to bring in that conversion. We don't all of a sudden know exactly how to convert the emails. We actually edit in the conversion from the first draft. And then the third draft is we bring in our personality. How do we punch it up so it's catchy and memorable, and also a reflection of who we are without it being over the top, or like, banging down the door, because that's not my personality. And it's not a lot of other people's personality either. And then that final step, the 4th step, which is the send ready checks, making sure, is it spelled, amongst other things, is it spelled correctly? Are the links working? All those things and everything like that, sending it off. So inside Exhale Email, I'm actually walking people through how to do that. And
I love it.
It is going to be so amazing. We're actually launching an ad campaign, my very first ad campaign ever. I'm so excited after 9 years of business doing online ads. I will admit, it might be the funniest thing I've ever created. So we are, we're kicking that off at the end of next week. So we're having this big bash with the list where they're going to be able to get in with special bonuses before we send it off to the world. So please join me. Go to my website, www.jennmayers.com. You will get an invitation to the free resource, 7 ways to multiply sales in your emails. Once you're on that email list, you will see all about Exhale Email. And it's going to be so much fun, you guys. We're going to have a lot of ease, a lot of effortless, a lot of flow, and a lot of laughs.
So I hope I got the title right. I put 7 ways to multiply sales with emails. Is that right?
Sales in your emails.
Sales in your emails.
Yeah.
And I don't think I spelled multiply right, but y'all get the point. I'm just putting it like that. Let's not be perfect. And JennMayers.com. Absolutely go visit there, you all. It is time for us to wrap. Hasn't this been amazing, everyone? Have you learned a lot? Would you put a comment there and say, yes, indeedy, love this woman, love Jenn. Go to JennMayers.com. I can tell you from experience, you'll love working with her. Also, don't forget, I always forget this, to tell you to go to spirited-solutions.com and grab, while you're doing the 7 ways to multiply sales in your emails, you can grab how to overcome overwhelm in 7 easy ways, which is for me. And a lot of people are overwhelmed right now. So, with business and everything that all the digital stuff coming at us all the time. So go get both of those and use them. And please like and comment about what you loved, and share this with someone else who may be struggling in their business. Maybe they're discouraged, or maybe they're just a kick-ass, bold-ass business owners already, and they would just love to have this training, this conversation to help them. Jenn, thank you so much again. Just love you. We appreciate you, and wishing you all the best, everybody. JennMayers.com, a copywriter who works with her head and her heart so that you can generate, as she said, over $14.2 million she's generated for her clients in the last 7 years. That's amazing. So this works. I'll see you next week, 4:30 p.m. Eastern. Bold Badass Business Owner Show. Be here. Don't miss it. I'll know if you're not here.